You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. New to the community? Head to GabbyGordonShow.com today. Sign up for the mailing list for exclusive Q&As, conversations, and special surprises. Send in sports-related voice messages, including all questions, through our website to be featured in a future episode. Once again, that's GabbyGordonShow.com. GABBYGORDON show.com. Let's kick off today's episode.
What is going on, sports fans? You are listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon, welcoming you to another phenomenal day we have ahead of us. Happy Thursday, December 28th, 2023, years after zero. I am so blessed to have you joining me for our second to last show of the week and our second to last show of the year. Can you believe that we are inching in on 2024? 24 is actually my lucky number, so I'm feeling good for this year ahead. I feel like there's a lot of great things to accomplish, especially in the future of this podcast. So once again, if you like what you hear, please feel free to leave a review, follow the website, GabbyGordonShow.com, send in a voice message, anything you can do to support the podcast and support this community we're trying to build up is greatly appreciated. And honestly, I'm just so thankful to have you joining me today. Got lots of sports news to touch upon today. We've got Packers news for once. Jaire Alexander suspended for one game. That was a crazy situation. We got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who officially signed with the Dodgers and said some interesting things about what his decision may have looked like with or without Shohei Ohtani. We've got Russell Wilson, who tweeted out something interesting last night. We've got tons of news to get to. Let's get this thing on the road. You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. Welcome to The Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon. Let's get started today with a team we haven't talked about in a little bit. My team that I root for in the NFL, that's your Green Bay Packers. Some weird stuff going on. And honestly, I don't expect this out of the Packers because the drama left the station when the drama went to the Jets. So I don't know what's been going on here, but Jaire Alexander, the star cornerback, I should say, for the Green Bay Packers has been suspended for one game for his pregame coin toss antics, which happened before Sunday's win against the Carolina Panthers. So let me just set the scene for you. Of course, there's always a pregame coin toss, and the captains are named before the game, and the captains go out to do the pregame coin toss. And then the home team, or the winner of the coin toss, elects if they want to receive or defer. Receiving means you'd get the ball to start. Deferring means you'd kick it off to start. Jaire Alexander was not announced as a game captain. But he decided to take matters into his own hands and crashed the pregame coin toss, and he nearly cost his team a possession. He called tails, he won the coin flip, and then he said the Packers wanted to be on defense. Referee Alex Kemp made Jaire Alexander clarify his meaning that the Packers chose to defer. If this clarification didn't occur, Carolina could have gotten the ball to start both halves, and they only won by 3 points. So you could see how Matt LaFleur was not thrilled with Jaire Alexander because an additional possession for Carolina could have changed the course of that game. What's interesting is what head coach Matt LaFleur told reporters yesterday after the decision to suspend him was announced. It's that it wasn't just due to these actions on Sunday with the coin toss. Matt LaFleur actually said to reporters, quote, "I'll just say this, it's never one thing." That was per ESPN.com. So I don't know what's going on with Jaire, but he's a guy who should be a leader. And he's causing problems for himself. And I don't really think he has much of a place to call himself a captain or talk. He's played in 6 games this season. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a great talent. But Sunday was his first game back after he missed 6 previous games with a shoulder injury. It's not the first time that he has been subject to injuries that have put him on the sidelines. So you're only as good as your talent can take you, and you're only as good as the talent you can actually put on the field to make your team better. And he is not always on the field. So while he is a great talent, he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league, it means nothing if he can't actually play. And he has had the injury bug hit him time and time again. I'm going to play some of Jaire Alexander's words after the game, and then they kind of like go back and forth with Matt LaFleur speaking to reporters. I don't know if he thinks this is a game or something. He makes the reference multiple times throughout his point that he is a Carolina native, a North Carolina native, and that justified his decisions to go out there and steal the coin toss. He was named as a 4th captain, and the first 3 captains are the ones that go out and do the coin toss. So he kept referencing, and I'm going to play it in a second, that because he didn't say this, but speculations is that he's basically stating because he was a native of the team they're playing against, that it gives him the right to make his own choices. And I'll play it in a moment. He says, I'm a Charlotte native. I don't think Coach knew that. I mean, like, it's insanity because it makes no sense. It's almost like he was, like, doing a prank or something. And again, like I talked about in the very beginning, this could have been a costly mistake, and he is lucky that the ref covered his butt, because that could have taken that to mean that Green Bay wanted to kick off. And thank God that that the ref was able to clarify that, because that could have been tragic. So here's what Jaire Alexander had to say.
So were you supposed to be a captain? Because the team announces the 3 game captains, and you were the 4th, and you called the toss. What happened there?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's only suiting, I don't think Coach knew I was from Charlotte, so.
So you just did that on your own?
I mean, it was like the guys backed me up, so they knew I was from here.
Did you realize you almost made a big mistake on the call, though?
What'd I do?
When you said we want to go on defense.
Yeah.
Which, in theory, they could have said, then you're electing to kick off, which you would have lost the opportunity then to receive in the second half.
Yeah, no, I told them that. I said I want our defense to be out there, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, it's pretty simple what I said. Like, I want the defense to be out there. They like, you mean defer? I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Did he say that to you?
Yeah, he did.
The mic was on.
Was?
Yeah, he heard you.
Oh, really? No, he was just like, defer? I was like, yeah. Everybody was like, yeah. Everybody was laughing. I'm like, what y'all laughing at? It's pretty obvious what I'm asking for.
So did anyone say anything to you when you got back to the sideline?
Why would they?
He sounds clueless. Like, he has no idea what they're talking about. Like, there was nothing wrong with what he did. Well, it's not a huge deal because, I guess it didn't, in the end of things, affect him. And he is a veteran on the team, so he is seen as a captain figure and a leader. When Coach doesn't name you captain, you don't make those decisions for yourself. You have a team, and you need to stick together, and you don't get to regard yourself as higher than the other guys and make the decision for yourself. And Matt LaFleur was not happy, rightfully so, and this is what he had to say.
But there's standards that we're all held accountable for, and when they're not met, unfortunately, sometimes you got to take some drastic measures. However, I will say that, we are expecting we'll get him back, and we're looking forward to get him back. I think we had a long conversation this morning. I thought it was very productive. And, I think in the long run, although it's painful now, I think we're all going to be better for this moving forward.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Was the decision made just because of the coin toss, or was it more of a last straw and it's been an accumulation of things?
I'll just say this. It's never for one thing. But like I said, I think there's a lot of lessons along the way from everybody involved, and hopefully we learn from them. I think we will. I think there will be probably better communication moving forward. And like I said, I think Ja's going to be here a long time. He's a hell of a player. And just looking to move past this and learn from it.
It isn't just one thing. That's what Coach Matt LaFleur said. It's interesting because we have not heard anything alarming in the media regarding Jaire. So whatever's been going on has been very quiet. Of course, he missed 6 weeks of football due to a shoulder injury, like I said, so not much room to hear anything, but it seems like this was the last straw, like the reporter asked, like this was the last straw, and there's been things going on. And I would love to hear the actual story behind this and what's actually been going on. Because there's no way that a suspension would be warranted for what he did with just the coin toss. That's just like, there's no need to take a guy with his talent out, especially when you're in the playoff hunt, and a winning game here is really needed. They need to win this next game. So there's no logical reason for him to have been suspended unless there's some other situation going on, because there's no reason for that to have happened. And what scares me even more as a Packer fan myself is that for this to have gone on in the first place, no, regardless of what may be happening in their locker room with Jaire Alexander outside of this whole scandal, whatever you want to call it, is that Matt LaFleur has lost respect of his locker room. Or at least his best players. And I can't speak for the rest of the team. I can't speak for Aaron Jones, for Jordan Love, for A.J. Dillon, for Christian Watson. I can't speak for those guys, but I could speak for Jaire Alexander based on his actions, that the coaching staff and the front office of this team doesn't have respect. Because players don't do that unless you've lost the locker room. Unless he legitimately is just an idiot and doesn't understand the hierarchy of power that a team goes through and doesn't understand that you just don't make decisions on your own like that. I mean, he could just be stupid in this situation. He seemed clueless when he was asked about it in the post-game interview, so it could very well be that. But based on what I heard from Matt LaFleur, it sounds like there's more to the story. Because, all in all, suspending one of the best players on your team when you have a 26% chance to make the playoffs and you're facing a division rival on Sunday night would be the worst mistake in coaching history for Green Bay if there isn't a further valid reason for his suspension, because the coin toss, that's ridiculous. Whatever. You want to have a sit-down conversation with him and explain your disgust with his decision to take over and make that choice on his own, that's fine. But when he's one of your best players and one of the best cornerbacks in the league, and you're sitting at 7-8, you don't suspend one of your best guys. You're playing to win. A loss against Minnesota would sink them to 1% of a chance to make the playoffs, and a win would raise their odds to 56%, according to Next Gen Stats. And now, it seems like we may be closer to 7-9 than to 8-8, and they are suspending one of the most talented players on their team. So it better be warranted, and it better not be just because of that coin toss. Because if that is the case, fire everybody. If that is the case, everybody goes, because that's ridiculous. And I do not think Matt LaFleur would make that choice unless there is seriously something else boiling under the water that needs to be addressed and that has warranted an actual suspension. On the Vikings side, and we talked about this a ton yesterday, there are quarterbacks all around the league being benched left and right for the final 2 weeks of the season, whether they have hopes of the playoffs or not. The Vikings have just done so as well. This was announced earlier today. The Vikings have benched Nick Mullins, and rookie quarterback Jaron Hall will be starting. This is a must-win game for the Vikings. This is a must-win game for the Packers. And you've got basically a rookie in Jordan Love, and now you've got a rookie in Jaron Hall. So this is going to be a big matchup. Hall did see some brief action this year. He actually started for the Vikings' first game this season when they didn't have Kirk Cousins because of that Achilles injury in Week 9 against Atlanta. He completed 5 of 6 passes for 78 yards before exiting due to a concussion. That forced Josh Dobbs into the lineup, and Josh Dobbs had great success. Love that guy. And then Kevin O'Connell turned Nick Mullins into the starter as there were some struggles by Joshua Dobbs in Week 15. And since the switch to Nick Mullins, Hall has been their backup. He has been suited up as their backup. And now he's getting his shot after Nick Mullins' 4-interception outing in their loss to Detroit. And now Kevin O'Connell is considering other options and has landed on giving the rookie a second shot as the starter. But now it makes even less sense for the Packers to have suspended Jaire because now you have a rookie quarterback. Of course you want your best defensive player in Jaire Alexander to be out there on the field doing what he does. Now he's not. So now it's like there has to be a good reason for this because you've got a rookie quarterback in Jaron Hall in a must-win football game for both sides, and you're missing one of your best players on the team. Look, I just hope Jordan Love can put up a nice, respectable performance. They've already exceeded my expectations as a team. As a Packer fan, I thought maybe 5 wins at best this year. Tough array of receiving weapons for a quarterback who has never undergone a full season on his own. So in all actuality, Jordan Love is basically a rookie, even though statistically and by the number of years he's been in the league, he's not a rookie. But he is a rookie in my mind, and he's exceeded my expectations. So while it's a must-win for both teams, it's like, how much further can we go? And when does the road end? And it may very well end this week against Minnesota. Can't believe that that Jaire Alexander is being suspended. Can't believe that even took place on a football field. While that doesn't warrant a suspension, it is still idiocy at its finest. At its finest. And we'll see what has to happen. You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. We will be back with some more quarterback and stuff right after this. Welcome back to The Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon. If you're just tuning in, we just touched upon a lot of Packers, Vikings news, including the Jaire Alexander suspension, what Jaire himself had to say, and what head coach Matt LaFleur had to say regarding that. If you are a Packer fan like me, you're not happy about this decision at all. You're not happy about how the last couple weeks of football have gone. But we're going to move on now to a team in the league who is shocking the world, and that is the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers, who are 1 win away from the NFC South title. That would be their 3rd straight NFC South title for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and with a win this Sunday over the Saints, the Bucs would clinch the division and make their 4th consecutive playoff appearance, and that would be the only NFC team to do so. This was a season expected to be a rebuild, a complete rebuild, after Tom Brady announced his retirement. For real this time. The retirement for real. And Baker Mayfield has had Tampa on the heels of a playoff return. Even with a loss on Sunday against the Saints, they still have a 67% chance to make the postseason. They would only need to win one of their 2 final games. That's it. If that's not a perfect recipe for success, I don't know what is. And massive kudos to Baker Mayfield, who's been all around the clock working for this. They have had some serious ebbs and flows all season long. They started 3-1 to the season, which then turned into 4-7. They lost 6 of 7 games, and now they are riding high on a 4-game win streak. They are potentially the hottest team in the NFL right now, with a quarterback that must be feeling high levels of confidence like never before. And of course, Baker's got some talented weapons, to say the least. That definitely doesn't hurt him. But he is averaging 239.9 passing yards per game with 26 touchdowns. And he currently sits with a career-high 96.2 passer rating. And this type of play has been the reason for their recent resurgence in this league. In the first 13 weeks of football, Baker had 18 touchdown passes with 8 interceptions as the offense scored about 19.4 points per game. In his past 3 games, he has had 8 passing touchdowns with no interceptions, and Tampa has scored 31 points per game. We have seen Baker improve in pocket presence and some run attempts where he attempts to plow over defenders, and he has made himself a leader on this team. He has improved in all facets of the game. The Bucs haven't won 5 consecutive games in the regular season since weeks 10 through 14 of 2016 with Jameis Winston as their quarterback. In the offseason, Baker signed a low-cost 1-year, $4 million prove-it deal, basically. He's proven it in every single way, and his value has increased drastically, one that I could not predict for you. I would have never told you that Baker would have had the success he's had. He is a good quarterback, and people often overlook it, but I just didn't see him fitting on the Buccaneers. But I guess I should have, because they have great talent, they have great coaching, and he's a leader at heart. He was a leader on the Browns. The Browns were terrible. He was a leader, though, and he made things happen. And now that $4 million is going to increase to a larger market value for sure. And who knows, maybe that low-cost deal kind of gave him the motivation he needed to prove it, because he has certainly done so. And for the Saints, they're sitting at 7-8 right now. They're down to their last chance. If they lose to the Tampa Bay Bucs, they are going to officially be eliminated from playoff contention. A win would keep them alive, with some help, of course, that's needed for the NFC South title the following week, possibly even a wild card spot if they can get an absurd amount of help from some other matchups. But maybe it's fitting that Dennis Allen's fate could ride on the shoulders of the Saints defense, because that is his coaching specialty. And it is a defense that was ripped to pieces, apart, in a loss to the Rams last Thursday. They have been bad against the run all season, but their pass defense put up its worst performance of the year against the Rams, so they have to turn this around if they want any chance at putting up a decent performance. Taking a look at the Saints defense, they currently rank 14th in total yardage coming into this week, and they've given up an average of 321.6 yards per game, while their 19.8 points per game ranks 9th in the league. They have forced 22 turnovers this season, but they have forced none in 3 of their last 4 games. So their defense has kind of been a dud right now. And like I just said, Tampa Bay is riding hot with a 4-game winning streak, trying to make that 5 since the first time since 2016. They've scored at least 29 points in their last 3 games, and they have averaged 316.3 yards of total offense per game, ranking 23rd with their 21.7 point game average, which ranks 17th. Not the best, not the worst, but they have had some decent success lately, and this offense has been built around the rebirth of Baker Mayfield. And Tampa's passing game is going to be tough to handle for the Saints. Look, Baker has not been spectacular. He hasn't been flawless, but he has been efficient, and that's what matters, and he has been careful with the ball, and we have not seen turnovers in these last couple of games. He's completed 64.3% of his throws, and he's thrown 26 touchdowns. He's moving away from pressure well. He knows the offense. He's showing good command. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are his 2 biggest targets. They've combined for 147 catches and 2,055 yards. That accounts for over 57% of Mayfield's yardage. And both are some of the best in the business. extremely physical targets, and they really threaten any defense that they play against. If we look at Chris Godwin, he's got 892 yards. He only has 1 touchdown, but he does have a team-high 74 receptions. He has 2 100-yard outings and 2 more with at least 70. And Mike Evans is potentially having the best season of his career as a potential Hall of Famer. For his 10 years of fame so far in the league, he's pulled in 73 catches for 1,163 yards and the league-high 13 touchdowns, with 3 100-yard games and 4 more with at least 70. So when you look at these 2 receivers, this is like a trio dream team for Baker, Godwin, and Evans, and it's almost as if they're not going to stop at all. And then you've got tight end Cade Otton, who has emerged as a quality pass catcher his 2nd year in the league. 2nd year running back Rachaad White, outstanding receiver in the backfield. Only Breece Hall and Christian McCaffrey have more receiving yards from the running back spot than this kid White. And their backup running back Chase Edmonds has been a quality checkdown option throughout his career as well. So they are a really well-rounded team under Todd Bowles. And the Saints are coming off of a very tough loss. And we know in this game and in life, in sports in general, momentum means everything. And what team has the upside with the momentum right now? The Buccaneers. You have to roll with the Bucs. Trying to match a 5-game win streak for the first time since 2016 would mean a whole lot for them because a lot has changed since Brady retired. And this was looking like a rebuild year with Baker Mayfield being signed for just 1 year, $4 million. That's a cheap contract where he had to prove it, and that's exactly what he's doing. It's got to be the Bucs. I'm riding with the Bucs. So this is going to be a big game for Tampa. This is also a huge game for New Orleans. Again, they're not completely eliminated, but they need to win this game. And the Buccaneers have put themselves in a great position to make it into the playoffs. They only have to win 1 of their next 2. And their second game on January 7th is against the Panthers. So they have set themselves up for great success. If they can get this one done, they're in great shape. Even if they can't get this one done, they're still in great shape because they play against the worst team in the league. So the Bucs are set up for success here, and if you are a fan, congrats to you. Congrats to you. I just really want to, really quickly, for all you Twitter gurus out there like myself, even if you haven't seen this tweet yet, it got me thinking. Last night, at about 11 o'clock at night, Danger Russ Wilson on Twitter, Russell Wilson, tweeted out, "God's got me. Looking forward to what's next." Insert some mysterious music here. That's interesting because usually when guys get benched, they remain kind of quiet. And Russell Wilson has basically just told the world that he's not going to be a Bronco next year. Now, of course, that is just speculation on my part, and a lot of the speculation was done on yesterday's show. But based on that, I don't know. Broncos country, let's ride is literally Broncos country, let's ride the bench. And so, just wanted to include that. We're not getting into any Russell Wilson talks. That was yesterday's news. If I hear more, you will hear more on the show. But that, I just wanted to include that tweet because it was interesting to me. And because I think it says a lot without saying a lot. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see what Sean Payton and the squad decides to do next. And for Jarrett Stidham, this is his offense now. So we'll see how he responds this week. We're going to take a brief timeout, and we will be back right after this. You're listening to The Gabby Gordon Show. Go visit the website, GabbyGordonShow.com, and see all your Gabby Gordon Show needs. We will be back right after this. Welcome back to The Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon, and let me tell you, I've been watching a lot of Detroit Pistons basketball lately. I think everybody should be. And you always want to see some exciting new thing in sports. So what could be better than the emergence of the worst team in the history, 77 years of the National Basketball Association. And ladies and gentlemen, we have found that team. The Detroit Pistons have now lost a record-setting 27 consecutive games. That stretches across over 2 months. That latest loss came at the hands of the Brooklyn Nets, 118-112. And if you want to know how devastatingly sad the Pistons are, it was treated by some as a moral victory because Cade Cunningham scored 41 and they only trailed by 5 with the ball in the final minute. But don't be mistaken. They proceeded to commit a turnover, bat a rebound out of bounds, forget to intentionally foul, which allowed nearly 5 seconds to burn off the clock, and then throw a pass to no one. It was honestly like watching an NCAA tournament 16 seed play only 1 seeds for an entire season. Most of the time they don't win. Guess what? Majority of the time Detroit doesn't win. But honestly, it's mesmerizing to me. It is mesmerizing to see this. They have such a lack of defense. They are dribbling into traffic. Standstill traffic. The jacking up of three-pointers by players who have no ability to hit three-pointers. Turnovers. It's like they try to turn over the ball. The players look like they have no idea what they are doing, like a school team embarrassed. Like a kid. Like myself, who was embarrassed to be singing in the holiday concert at my elementary school. Because I could not sing. So I would just lip sync until the concert was over. The Detroit Pistons are lip syncing their way through games. It is literally mesmerizing. And if you're anything like me, you tune in to see if they come to play with some intensity, and then they give up 81 points in a half to Milwaukee. Okay, Milwaukee's a good team. How about the next night in Atlanta? Nope. Down 13 in the first quarter. Okay. How about against a bad Utah team who's on the second leg of a back-to-back? Nah. Pistons commit 20 turnovers and lose by 8. Don't be mistaken. This isn't bad luck, bad calls, or an inability to close out games because the games are never close. During this streak, this monstrosity, they're losing by an average of 12.4 points, and they haven't been involved in a one-possession finish since November 8th. It's December 28th. One time they shot 4 of 21 from 3 as a team. In early December, they led a Ja Morantless Memphis team into the 4th. And wound up losing by 14. Then there was the time they got blown out by 32 points in Orlando, and the humiliation was so motivating that 3 games later, they let up 32 points to Philadelphia. The game after that, they lost again by 32 points to the Bucks. 3 32-point losses in an 8-day stretch. It almost seems impossible, and the Pistons are making this possible. I truly believe, and say this with my entire being, I have no basketball ability. I can dribble the ball. I can shoot with no defenders. But if you put me in an NBA game, I'm going to crumble. And I am going to look ridiculous and make a fool out of myself. Yet I still think, at this point, the Pistons would take me onto their team. Maybe that's a little overzealous, but I think I would at least distract some of the other teams. Maybe make it less than a 32-point difference in a loss. It's crazy. And the true depth of how awful they are is not even appreciated enough. Nobody cares about them. Their games rarely go beyond any local fans. Most fans have been distracted by the Lions and the Wolverines, the Detroit Lions, Michigan Wolverines. Maybe now that finally changes. Look, they're a young team with a new head coach in Monty Williams, who has been respected around the league, especially by the media, so you don't hear a ton of criticism. It is a fairly muted level of criticism, but it really shouldn't be, because this is horrendous. Yahoo Sports said all this, and I cannot agree more. Williams looks like a coach who never wanted the job and only took it because the Pistons owner kept calling back with more and more and more and more money, $78.5 million over 6 years, and eventually the guy couldn't say no to a deal like that. Then he came into town in Detroit, and he realized he really didn't want to be there. And it could make a lot of sense that he maybe checks his banking app at least twice during a game, just so he doesn't lose his mind completely and have a nervous breakdown on the court. It's just insane. And they're not even a terrible team, because it is far better than a 2-28 team. The GM, Troy Weaver, actually made some good selections. They're not talentless. Almost everyone on the team is 22 or under and a first-round pick. It's a fantasy team. But unfortunately, these games are not fantasy, they are reality. Cunningham, first overall pick in 2021, he can really score. He's had a great mid-range jumper. He could be a Marine sniper for the way his emotions never change. Nothing rattles him. That's a huge quality that cannot be taught. But he also plays an old man game at like 25 miles per hour, and he does not fit with Jaden Ivey, who was the number 5 pick in 2022, who plays at about 100 miles per hour. So those two don't really match up hand in hand. They are individual talents who are not good on the court together. But there are also guys on this roster that are athletic, big men. And it's not like there's zero talent. The talent just cannot work together. Every possible lineup has very, very clear weaknesses. 3 or 4 guys on the team play one way. 1 or 2 play the other way. And it doesn't work together on a roster. And the worst part about it all is that major changes don't appear to be imminent. They don't appear to be happening very soon. Because what do you do when your team has beaten a record, and that record is being the worst team in the league, in the history of basketball itself, a 77-year history, and it cannot get worse than the 2023 Detroit Pistons? What do you do in a situation like that? There's not much you can do. You kind of just got to hold your breath, pinch yourself, and hope this was all a really bad dream. It's crazy. It really, truly is crazy. Honestly, my 13-year-old brother could probably put together a better basketball team than what we see on the court in Detroit. Thank God for the Michigan Wolverines and the Detroit Lions, because Detroit sports fans would probably never show their face or get out of bed if this is all they were stuck with. And I wouldn't blame them. Because the Pistons are... There's no words to describe it. There is no adjective or word or description or anything I can use to describe the levels of disgust when you look at this team. But congrats to them, at least. I guess when you look back on this year, you can say you made some history, right? You made history. It's insane. It's truly insane. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end today's show. I needed to throw in the Detroit Pistons stuff because while it is so incredibly upsetting, it is very, 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 very good for sports talk, and it makes for good conversation. So we are approaching the final show, which is tomorrow of 2023, and we are approaching some of the best weeks of football that there is, and some of the best times for sports. And there is no one else I'd rather spend it with than you right now listening to this show. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Gabby Gordon Show. My name is Gabby Gordon. Don't forget, visit our website, GabbyGordonShow.com. Send in a voice message with any sports-related questions leading up to Week 17 or the NBA or hockey or baseball or whatever it may be. I know we were going to maybe talk about Yamamoto. The news with that is just that he basically officially signed and said that Shohei Ohtani didn't really change his decisions, and he was kind of going to go to the Dodgers whether Ohtani was there or not. So in a nutshell, that's what that story is. If we can touch upon it a little bit tomorrow, we will. But that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am always very blessed to have you here because every day is a great day to talk some sports. I'll catch you tomorrow, same time, same place, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, on a very fun Friday of sports. I'll see you next time.